Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. Today we are on the website of Apollium Auctions based in France, and we're going to have a look at their latest auction regarding musical instruments. This particular auction is due to finish on the 12th of April, which is tomorrow. It is the 11th today. I believe that the buyer's premium is 25%, so that's the amount you pay of the final hammer price on top. As I always say, check out kind of the fees for import, export, shipping, etc. So like I said, this auction is in France, so if you're outside of France, then there'll probably be other fees to pay. Check all the information here. You can also get the site in French or English. It seems that there's about 440 lots, or 438 it says here, to look through. So without further ado, we should really crack on and have a look at them. I think some of them may potentially be lots regarding records and things like that, and if there are stuff like that, then I think we'll just skip those out. Let's have a quick look and just make sure. Potentially some bits right at the end, but the majority of it does look like it's instruments. So once we get to the end of the instruments themselves, then we'll stop it there. So enough of me rabbiting. Let's just see what we have. And first up, we have quite an interesting lot. It seems to be a 19th century portrait of a man playing a guitar, and then we also seem to have the guitar, potentially the same one that was depicted for sale, which is interesting. A romantic guitar by Petit Jean Lane of Mirecourt. Also it seems to be 19th century. Estimates 2,000 to 3,000. Looks like there's 3,300 is the current bid on that. So that is quite interesting. If it were to be exactly the same instrument, I mean, I guess it is certainly possible. So definitely a curious lot. Some good pictures as well, and a nice looking guitar from the front. In any case, fairly interesting from the back, but quite normal. And there's a stamp there, Petit Jean Lane, Mirecourt. So that's an interesting first item there for sure. And then staying on the romantic guitar, we've got another one, probably made by Petit Jean Lane, bird's eye maple back and side, spruce top. You can see a similar style, similar kind of decoration. Once again, another quite nice looking guitar. Interesting bird's eye maple, bit of a split at the back. 1,500 to 2,000 is the estimate. Current bid is 1,400. It's interesting to see the current bids on that. Got a French violin made by Alexandre Delanoy with its original label of 1914. 1,000 to 2,000 is the estimate. There are no bids on it so far. These pictures are decent when you zoom in, but not too good from far away. It's still interesting. Now I have an English violin, anonymous, early 19th century. 354 is the length of the back. Looks to be in a bit of a state. No bids on this so far. Got an Italian violin. It's kind of school, I suppose that's meant to say, of Plinio Michetti, which has a label for Plinio Michetti there from 1929. Starting price is 3,500. Interesting crackleture all over that instrument, but no bids so far. Length back is 358. Estimate is 38 to 42. French violin, anonymous, with a label for A. Delivet. There, current bid is 580. Another French violin, probably made by Francois Gaviniers. 13,000 to 14,000 is the estimate, but there's no bids on this so far. second part of the 18th century, they're saying. Head of another author. I was going to say that their head looks a lot newer than that. A violin, probably Italian, with a mark for Vitale Giuseppe, or Giuseppe Vitale. Starting is 2,000. 2.5 to 3 is the estimate. And a Baroque violin here. Interesting Baroque violin. It's like saying it's got its original neck there. Current bid is 1,200. 1,200 to 1,500 is the estimate. French violin made by Simon, with the Simon brand. Original Baroque neck, they're saying. Starting bids at 1,400. No bids as yet. Another French violin with a label of Giovanni Longaru, Venice. Bids of 400 as a starting price. None so far. Can get rid of that. French violin made by Nicolas Matteo. Starting bid is 500. Once again, no bids on this so far. French violin, Thierry in Paris. Starting bid 500. Once again, no bids on this one as yet. Violin, a French violin by Marc Boulaud. 2,000 to 3,000 is the estimate there. A German violin, 19th century copy of a Steiner. I think that's all we've got on those pictures. Another German violin, Mittenwald School. 360 length of back. Estimate is 5 to 700 there. French violin, the Colin Mazat. Estimate is 1,500 to 2,000. Another French violin there, the same beginning of the 19th century. Head from someone else. Starting bid 1,500. Another violin, anonymous, but with a Storioni label. They're looking at 5 to 700. That's the estimate on that. Another French violin with a Nicolas Bertolini label. 5 to 700 is the estimate. A violin, they're saying probably Italian, Turin School. Copy of a Presenda. It's got 1,900 on their bid so far. And an Italian violin made by Vincenzo Sanino with the label 15 to 20,000 is the estimate. There are no bids so far. Certificate by G. Chancerelle. A few pictures there. Now another French violin, a Maggini style model from the 19th century. 5 to 700 is the estimate there. 760 is the bid, so it's got some popularity. French violin made by Nicolas Villaume. 5 to 7 is the estimate. So far there are no bids. So interesting enough back to that. Another French violin made in the workshop of Roger Max Millant. Estimates 1,800 to 2,200. So 3,300 is the current bid. I was going to say I've not come across many violins from the Millant workshop, so Makes sense, it might have a bit of a premium on that. Another anonymous French violin. There's a copy of a Galiano. 1200 is the starting price, but no bids. French Violin by Bouthold. 2 bids on that at 800. Sorry, estimate is 1,000 to 1,500. Got a German violin, the Fischer Workshop, late 19th century. No bids on that so far. French violin by Chapuis. No bids so far. Another French violin from by Lebert. No bids on that one either. French violin JTL. No bids so far on that one. Another French violin there with a mark of FS Jean. No bids so far. French violin from Mircore in the Magini style with an interesting inlay at the back of Napoleon. No bids. Another French violin from Mircore with the label Jacques Camerat. 1 bid of 500 on that. French violin in the style of Didier Nicolas Ain. No bids so far. Another French violin by Francois Cossin. No bids on that so far, but these can be quite interesting, quite popular with some people. Anonymous violin there, early 20th century. No bids so far. It's got an interesting scroll. That's quite cool. Vincenzo Maren, Mantova, 1937. Probably Italian. Interesting. French violin made by René Jacquemin. 1,000 is the current bid. French violin made by Honoré Darazi. Oh, we'll just say that's 9,200 on the bid so far. French violin by Lebert Humbert, workshop there. 1,850 is the current bid. There's a few more pictures on this one. Oh, a Belgian violin. We don't see them too often. In the spirit of Ambroise de Combols. Starting bid is 2,800. It's kind of unusual. French violin made under the direction of Marc Lebert. Current bid 840. French violin, probably Stentor. Starting bid 2,000. No bids so far. French violin Mircore, made around 1900, bearing a label Nicolas Amatus Cremonen. No bids so far. Another French violin, Magini model 19th century. No bids so far. Violin, probably Italian, with a label Giuseppe Scarampella. 354 length the back. No bids on that so far. And a French violin from Mircore. No bids so far. And a German violin. And the Klotz kind of style, 1,000 so far. It's the bid, not many pictures on that. 354 length the back. French violin made by Lebert Humbert brothers. £1,500 is the current bid. And a French violin by Remy, £1,400 is the current bid. An Italian violin, probably made by Paolo Barbieri, with a label 1944. Estimate 3,000 to 4,000. We've got €2,650 so far as the current bid. And a Quinton made by Nicolas Chapuis. That's interesting. 2,000 to 3,000 is the estimate. Current bid is 1,800. It's quite cool to see Quintons. Interesting. And here's a viola, French viola, probably made by Jules Grandjean. No bids on that so far. Central European viola there, says made in Hungary. €40 is the bid on that. Another viola here, made by an amateur. Current bid €120. It's definitely an interesting one. Anonymous viola from the 20th century, a Bergonzi copy apparently. 1,200 is the current bid. Another viola made by Gerardin. €300 is the current bid. Another modern viola, a Guarneri type copy, €350 its current bid. And a cello from Eastern Europe, 250 is the current bid. And a German double bass by Otto Rubner. Starting bids at 3,500. Modern cello by David Tricot. 3,000 to 4,000 is the estimate there. No bids so far. And a modern double bass by Eberhard Meinl. Mark Nikerkin. Current bid is 780. Quarter size cello, a modern one. Current bid is €70. French cello, early 20th century. Got 1,900 to 2,000 is the estimate. Current bid is 1,700. Another French cello from Miracle. 1,800 to 2,000 is the estimate. Another French cello from Miracle, made as a copy of Presender. 1,700 is the current bid. 7/8 cello made by Solomon, which has the iron mark. Let's have a look. Estimates 8,000 to 12,000, 8.5 so far. I really do like the work of Solomon. I have to say it's very cool, and I like some of the marks that they have on the scroll. You see this interesting kind of shell pattern, and then there's probably something on the side, this kind of flower. It's all sorts of different kind of designs, but I presume that this is like Jean-Baptiste Solomon, but interesting cello for sure. I really do think this is a good maker. And now we are on to some violin bows, it seems. Now we have a violin bow by Charles Nicolas Bazin. Current bid's 1,800. I think we'll just look at the main pictures there. Another violin bow by Eugene Cugnot. 1,400 is the current bid. Violin bow by Prosper Colas. 800 is the current bid. Violin bow by Charles Nicolas Bazin, 1,000 is the current bid. Violin Bow by Émile Francois Huchard, we've got 2,000 as the current bid. Violin Bow by Nicholas Mayer, 16,000 as a current bid. So certificate from Paul Childs there, so leading kind of one of the leading US kind of experts on French bows. Violin Bow Mircore, 700 euros is the current bid. Another Mircore bow, 250 euros. Violin Bow probably made by JJ Martin, got no bids on that one so far. The Violin Bow, no bids on that. 19th century transitional bow, no bids on that. Another Violin Bow, German, 250 euros bid. Violin Bow Mircore, 80 euros bid. Violin Bow by VJ Ferrelli, or marked VJ Ferrelli, 290 euros is bid. Violin Bow made by Victor Francois Fetique, no bids on that, estimates 5 to 6. Violin Bow by Lebert. Violin Bow by Charles Nicolas Bazin, we've got 800 euros bid. Violin Bow made by Francois Lot, 700 euros so far. Violin Bow by Lebert. Violin Bow by Cugnot Huri, 700 euros current bid. Violin Bow Simon School, we've got 400 euros bid. Violin Bow Mircore, late 19th century, no bids on that so far. Violin Bow by Pajot Mayer, 700 euros current bid. Anonymous Violin Bow, no bids. Violin Bow in the style of Simon Frère, no bids. Violin Bow made by Louis Morazan, we've got 700 euros as the initial bid. Withdrawn from sale, do not bid. That's an interesting way of doing it. Some kind of bow. Violin Bow Mircore, starting price 400 euros. Violin Bow made by Lebert, 350 euros. Violin Bow probably made by C. Bazin, 600 euros current bid. Violin Bow Mircore, current bid 120 euros. Violin Bow Peugeot Workshop, starting bid 2,500. Violin Bow by Herman W. Prell, no bids on that so far. Violin Bow Anonymous, no bids. Mircore Violin Bow, no bids on that. Violin Bow made by Matthias Barb, starting price is 3,000 euros. Violin Bow from Mircore, 100 euros bid. Violin Bow Mircore, another Mircore Violin Bow, 400 euros bid. Violin Bow probably made by Charles Louis Bazin, 620 euros there. Violin Bow collaboration of Lenoble and Pacat, exceptional bow, 12,000 euros there. The estimate is 12,000 to 15,000 euros there. Collaboration there, branded Gand Frères, interesting bow. Another Mircore Violin Bow there, 360 euros bid. Violin Bow transitional 19th century, 80 euros is the starting price. Another Mircore Violin Bow. Violin Bow made by Jean-Jacques Millant. Current bid is 1,550 euros. It's the actually the interesting frog design of Millant that I actually really quite like this design. I don't know how it works for players, but I really like it aesthetically. I think it's pretty cool. Violin Bow Mircore, 80 euros bid. Another Violin Bow Mircore, 160 euros. Violin Bow Adrechner Vojnersh, not sure, completely bastardized that, I'm sure, 250 euros bid. Transitional bow there, 80 euros bid. Violin Bow branded Dodd, no bids. The Violin Bow there, no bids, German. The Violin Bow Mircore, no bids. Violin Bow JTL, no bids on that. Lebert Violin Bow, 250 euros is bid. Violin Bow Mircore, you got 40 euros bid. Another Violin Bow Mircore, 300 euros. Violin Bow Mircore, 50 euros bid. Mircore Bow again. Violin Bow there, 170 euros bid. Another Mircore Bow with 150 euros. Half size bow there, no bids. 3/4 size bow by JTL, got 100 euros bid on that. 3/4 bow, 19th century, no bids on that. Viola bow here, anonymous, but it's got a Colin Bazin mark, no bids. Viola bow by Charles Louis Bazin, €700 bid. Viola bow probably made by Richaume, €2,000 bid. Viola bow Miracle, no bids. Viola bow Miracle in the style of Bazin, €150 bid. Viola bow there. It's this beautiful French bow, first part of the 20th century, octagonal stick, but there's no bids on it so far. Cello bow, anonymous, late 18th century. Round ramrod in exotic wood, interesting. Boxwood frog, bone button, €640 to start with. It's actually fairly interesting. Cello bow, anonymous. Cello bow from Miracle, starting price 1,000. Cello bow in the style of Peugeot. Cello bow probably made by Louis Morizot, €800 bid. Cello bow from Miracle. Cello bow H. Walter Zapf, €80 bid. Cello bow by Miracle. Another Miracle cello bow. Another Miracle cello bow. Cello bow made by Andre Vigneron, 4,500 is the bid. Looking at 5,000 to 7,000. It's one of the good, better makers. Cello bow made by Morizot Brothers, €1,200 is the current bid. The cello bow from Miracle. Double bass bow, probably made by Victor Fatigue, 3,500 there. 4,000 to 5,000 is the estimate. Violin and cello bows, a set of 2. Cello bows there, Miracle and Pacehold. Some violin bows. Whole load of other violin bows. More violin bows. More violin bows. Then we have a German violin, anonymous. €80 is the starting price. French violin from Miracle there. €50 is the start. I think we're on to the lesser stuff now. French violin, Miracle again. Another French violin. German violin there. German violin made in Mittenwald. This is all the lesser stuff. German violin. French violin from Miracle. Another French violin from Miracle. French violin in the Medifino style, as they're saying. French violin, anonymous, 18th century. No bids on that so far. Bearing a label of Solomon, but they don't seem to agree on that one. Looks like it's inked purfling. Curious. Looks like it's had a bit of woodworm. German violin, Mark Nikirkin, early 20th century. French violin there. German violin. French violin, a Miracle one. French violin in the style of Didier Nicolas Ain. German violin. Tyrolean violin apparently. It's got the lion's head. French violin after Lebert. Another French violin, Miracle with the Magini double purfling. Another German violin. French violin, early 19th century. Original neck, they're saying. French violin in the style of Didier Nicolas Ain. French violin. French violin musical, violin modern 21st century, €350 bid on that. Another French violin from Miracle, as we kind of expect in a French auction to have quite a lot of those. Another Miracle violin, another Miracle, another French violin, JTL, German violin with a kind of Hopf mark, French violin, another French violin, another Miracle violin there, another Miracle violin. Really, we don't need to look at these, we should really just skip past them. French violin Tredeluth model, German violin there, made as a copy of a Ducanet apparently. French violin, early 20th century, French violin, another Miracle Super Special, Breton violin, French violin, French violin, a Grand Gérard workshop. That's an interesting looking violin. Another Breton violin, another French violin from Miracle, German violin, another French violin, another Miracle violin, another JTL French violin, another Miracle violin. These are all mostly uninspiring kind of tradey type things. Another French violin, another Miracle violin. This is very much like the Vichy auctions, just drowning in the same old French violins again. There's another one there, and another one. Oh, this one comes with a bow anyway, at least, if nothing else. Another Miracle violin, another one here, and a German violin. Interesting back on that one actually. Another French violin, another French violin JTL, French violin Magini style, another French violin of Miracle. Hopefully we go on to something else soon, because this is getting a bit tedious. Another French violin of Miracle, and another one, and a German violin made in Mittenwald with a Klotz label. No bids on that one so far. Another Miracle violin. Okay. The German violin there, all pretty standard. Another French violin here, €520 is the estimate, and another French violin. Let's see, and a Miracle violin, French violin of Miracle, another French violin, kind of Lebert style, French violin. We're missing out some pictures here, but really I don't think it's any great loss. 3/4 French violin. Another French 3/4. I think we're going to get hit by a sea of French quarter violins, or 3/4 German violin. I think we can just go past that. French half size, you can go past that as well, and another French half size. I think we've seen enough of these French violins for today, and a French 3/4 as well. Another French 3/4, and another one, and another one here, and another one more. Another French half size, French 3/4, another French 3/4, another French 3/4, and another French 3/4, another French 3/4, another French 3/4, and a German violin. Nothing too outrageous in that. They're saying it's a Tyrolean violin with a Klotz label. Hard to say what's going on there. It's a bit doesn't look like the greatest example. A French violin in the style of Francois Cossa. €200 as start bid. German violin, anonymous. French violin again. Another French violin. French violin here with a Ruggieri label. Needs a bit of repair, I'd say. Whole load of violins here. 3 of them in fact. See, at least the pictures are pretty good. Another lot of violins. Mere cool things. Some more violins there. Some more violins. More French violins here. Interesting amateur violin case. Another kind of slightly older wooden case. Some more cases. Clarinet there by T.E. Purdy, London. Clarinet by C. Alt. A few more pictures there. Clarinet Wood and Ivy. Clarinet by W. Millhouse, one of the well-known London makers. Clarinet by Viola. Clarinet by Bilton, London. Clarinet by Metzler. Clarinet by Whitaker. Clarinet by Brugman. Clarinet by Boulder and Co. Clarinet by Pronst. See a lot of the London makers represented. An anonymous clarinet. We lost the internet there. Clarinet by Bilton. Another anonymous clarinet there. Clarinet with an illegible mark. Clarinet anonymous. Another anonymous clarinet. Clarinet, a Shelmo, a pipe clarinet there. It's interesting. Another clarinet there. Eugene Thibouville clarinet. Another pipe clarinet, Buxwood. Another clarinet, missing parts there. Clarinet by Dussin. Another clarinet by Buffet Crampon there. Clarinet by Selma. Another clarinet by Selma. Clarinet by Goulding and Co. Clarinet anonymous, a lot of clarinets. Clarinet by Gibereau. Clarinet, another pipe clarinet there. Clarinet by Besson and Co. Another London. Clarinet by Gerlach. Clarinet by Brugman. Clarinet by Colbert & Co. Clarinet by Geisler. Clarinet by Mullenhauer and Son. Clarinet by Boosey and Hawkes. Clarinet by G. Hanken. Clarinet by Arthur Ubel. Clarinet by Klingson. Clarinet by Alexander Gerber. Clarinet by F. H. Ebelweit. Clarinet by F. Arthur Ebel. Clarinet by Buffet Crampon. Clarinet by Clinton S.A. Set of 4 children's clarinets. A set of clarinets there. Some more clarinets. Clarinet and a flute. Clarinet and a saxophone. Transverse flutes. Another transverse flute. More transverse flute. Another transverse flute there, Libret. Transverse flute by J. Grass. Transverse flute by Chaplin. Transverse flute by Marcotte. Transverse flute by Thibouville. Transverse flute by Yamaha. Transverse flute by Sankyo. Flute mouthpiece by Muramatsu, €200, a good quality make there. Transverse flute by Sikama. Transverse flute by Wild. Transverse flute by Kretschmann. Transverse flute by Pottery of London. Transverse flute by G. Astor, also of London. Another transverse flute by Pottery. Transverse flute by Widman. Transverse flute by Pottery. Transverse flute by Brown. Transverse flute by Pottery, or Potter really. Transverse flute by A.V. Bodel, Stockholm there. Transverse flute by Goulding & Co. Another transverse flute by Joseph Liedl. Transverse flute by JTL. Transverse flute by J. Grass. Transverse flute by Buscher. Transverse flute by A. Sloasser. Transverse flute by Clementi. Transverse flute by Wainwright. Transverse flute by Ferret Marcotte. Transverse flute by E.J. Albert. Transverse flute, study flute there. Transverse flute by Clinton. Transverse flute. Another transverse flute by Jules Heiner. Transverse flute by Joseph Liedl. Transverse flute anonymous. Transverse flute anonymous. Another transverse flute by Klingson. Transverse flute by JTL. Transverse flute by Maspacher. Transverse flute by Cousinon. Transverse flute by Sieur Chaplin. Transverse flute anonymous. Transverse flute by Orthorton. Transverse flute by Butler. Transverse flute by Pleverios. Transverse flute there with not a good label. Transverse flute by Boosey & Co. Transverse flute. And a transverse flute there. Another transverse flute by V. Kohlhertz. Transverse flute in Rosewood. Transverse flute by W. Hamp. Transverse flute by Selma. Transverse flute by Orsi Milano. Transverse flute by El Cousin. Transverse flute by A. Rampone. Transverse flute anonymous. Transverse flute by Franz Adler. Transverse flute out of Rosewood. Transverse flute of Ebony. And then a transverse flute made out of Rosewood. Transverse flute A. Rosenwald. Transverse flute Goulding & Co. Transverse flute Rosewood and Ivory. Transverse flute anonymous. Finally, we ended the transverse flutes for just about a transverse flute and a trumpet. There's a lot of flutes there. Bassoon by Troubière. Tenor saxophone by Crampon Buffet. Alto saxophone by Stone. Alto saxophone by Selma. Alto saxophone by Selma. Alto saxophones. And alto saxophones, lot 3, E.J. Albert. Interesting. Alto saxophones, E.J. Albert buffet crampon to be restored. Accessories for wind instruments, some more accessories. A trombone there with the mark of Antoine Courtois. Mandolin banjo by Mangini. Interesting. Banjo mandolin there. 2 banjo mandolins. Another banjo there. Neapolitan mandolin by G. Puglisi. Pretty standard. Neapolitan mandolin there by P. Ozelli. Neapolitan mandolin Paolo Stradini. Another pretty standard looking thing. Mandolins there, standard bowbacks. Folk guitar there by Crafter, it's pretty normal. Veena Saraswati, modern Indian Veena, it's interesting. An accordion by Paolo Rogledi. And a big drum from the Ivory Coast, slightly more interesting. Some old sheet music, more sheet music, and I think we're at the end here. There's a few phonographs and some other kind of records and gramophones and things like that. So I think we're pretty much at the end of this auction. So yeah, a few interesting things here and there, but as with like a few of these French auctions, unfortunately they have a few interesting things, and then lots of it you just get the sea of the same old kind of stuff. I mean, a lot of clarinets there, a lot of flutes there, if you are kind of a player of those instruments. From a kind of strings point of view, much the same French stuff, I guess, as you'd expect from a French auction, but at least the pictures are decent and there's something to look at. So yeah, if you're interested, I'll put a link in the description. Have a look at the auction. So you've got until tomorrow to bid and see what you think. Yeah, like I said, some interesting stuff. Not the most exciting auction I've looked at, but definitely some things to look at. So once again, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Ciao. Many thanks for tuning in to the Musical Instrument Investigator. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please like, subscribe and turn on notifications, and watch out for the next video coming soon.